Thank you.
Welcome, everybody. We're going to begin our sharing today, and this is from the card that Shonda pulled, and it shows the mountains, and it is about moving forward in a new way with our uniqueness. So that's what we're going to talk about, and I want to talk about relationships, deepening relationships in the native ways and moving forward in that way in our own uniqueness. And we share from where we are. And so one thing that happened very recently to a lot of us here in the room is when we were in the goddess gathering this weekend, I shared about the bear and the water, who's both of them sit in the west. And then we honored them in that sharing. And then when I was getting ready to think about doing the 22 women's prayers, the next day in the evening, this song came into me from the bears here on the mountain. And they're going into their birthing season. So it's a very wonderful time to be getting gifts from Yona. Yona is the Salagi word for bear, and the song came in our Salagi language, and it came in a call and answer. So I invite you all to participate in that as I open our gathering. I indigenize our gathering with a song and sing this song that came from the bears yesterday. So does everybody know how call and answer works? It's kind of like an echo. I sing the word. The second time I sing it, you sing it with me. And then we'll sing it together the third time and translate it into English. This is a really good way of learning some Salagi words and our language and the way our language works, as well as honoring this song for the water, to the water, and to the bears, and to the changes that the song talks about that are so needed at this time. So join me in call and answer if you're comfortable, mute or unmute, whatever's good for you. I think Zoom is working better for unmuting and singing. We had a wonderful singing together in the gathering this weekend. I could have just sat there and sang with those 20 people for the entire weekend, I think. But sing this song with me. It says, Amakalola, falling water, Ostinuati, only best medicine for you. Water soothe our spirit, gently carve a path for a new birth. Dohi nunatalu dohi, peaceful serenity for all life. Ani iliga, we are grateful, Osta, as it is. Sing with me, and I'm going to use my bear rattle. Amakalola, 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 falling water. Gonna have to turn on my. I know you couldn't hear my rattle, so we're gonna start over. Amakalola, 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 falling water. Ostanuari, Ostanuari, only best medicine for you. Water soothe our spirit, gently carve a path for a new birth. Joy Nunatali Joy. Joy Nunatali Joy, Joy Nunatali Joy, peaceful serenity for all life. Ani Hilira, Ani Hilira, Ani Hilira, as it is. Doi nuna tara doi aniliga. Osada. So this is a beautiful example of building relationship. And thank you, Michael, for that rattle. Beautiful sound of the rattle, and Erica for singing along with me. I love it when people join the frequency and the vibration of the medicine songs that come, especially from the bears. But I learned this about relationship when I first started making the journey up the mountain in the winter to visit the cave where the mountain lioness winters over. And I was very careful going up there. I didn't want to get too close. I didn't want to disturb her. But I had seen her several times. But I had just seen her in passing. And she actually had come down and marked off a medicine wheel for me on this land as soon as I moved in to the house that I built in 2000. And I wasn't able to build that medicine wheel because I didn't have help. So I had just seen her, but I had not established a relationship. But when I started going to the cave where she winters, she would come down here, and I would either hear her scream in the night, which sounds very scary, and I had a big black chow at that time, and he would look at me, he'd put his paws down, he'd look at me like, shh, don't let him know we're here, because it was a really, really kind of scary scream. I don't know if you've ever heard the mountain lioness scream, but it's incredible. And then she would leave a big pile of scat, and it would have like a whole bunny in that pile of scat, and I would see that this was nutrition for her, that coming to visit her and recognizing her and connecting with her was feeding both our spirits. And so this is what the bear's doing by bringing us a song the very next day after we honor the bear and the water. And they brought us a song for the water. And I've been asking and speaking with the water because the water's not flowing. First time my spring hasn't been flowing here, Sacred Mountain. And I feel like the water is sending a message. My neighbor brought it to everyone's attention in our email thread saying, "Where's our water?" He's only been here 3 years and he's seen the water come and go. So he knows that when it gets dry, his stream can come and go. But mostly everyone else, keeps some water, and the spring water mostly keeps flowing because we have a marker tree up on the ridge, and that marks the primal water, which is always available. Primal water is the water that does not stop flowing, but it's not reaching us down here a little bit lower from that ridge top. And so I was concerned about the water, and I've been working with the water since my neighbor brought that to our attention. And he's an amazing rock star. he's really a rock star. His name is Moses Sumney. I don't know if you've seen his music. It's called art rock, and it's just incredible. So I feel like the mountain is speaking to him, and the water is speaking to him, and teaching him at this time to establish relationship with them and bring it into his music, because I hear the voice of the mountain, the spirit of the mountain, in his music and his songs just like mine. And I can give you a link later if you want to go listen to his Blakalacha music, or any of the films that he's produced with his music that has come from the time he's moved here to this mountain. So I'm excited to work with him on the water as well, and with the bears. But they're entering their birthing season. Their cubs will actually lie dormant until this time of the year, and then you'll see them get really fat, and they go up the mountain on the solstice, the winter solstice. They come by and say goodbye as they go up the mountain to their caves, and sometimes I visit them at their. One year, I love to go out there with the first few snows, and I saw where the little cub prints, about the size of my palm, had circumambulated the stone that their cave was in. It had come out and walked in a counterclockwise direction all the way around the stone, all by itself, and gone back in. And that's confirming our matrilineal homeland here on the mountain. Our matrilineal circles are counterclockwise because that's the way of the feminine, the matrilineal. And you hear all kinds of things that aren't true, like that brings negativity, or, the lies from the patriarchy. You hear those. But you learn to recognize those lies as you do this work and as you build these relationships, and you look at the synchronicities that come in and the spontaneous energies that come along that really bring us together. And those are the moon goddess ways. Those are the magical, mystical ways. And Shonda keeps asking me about the moon goddesses, and I'm careful when I talk about these things because I don't want to rattle too many cages with the patriarchy. I want us to be able to keep gathering and speaking of our ways. But our Selagi moon goddess ways are to reconcile the lower realm and the higher realm with the elements on this middle realm and with our ancestors who've done their work. And the way that we do that is by singing these songs that they bring to us, watching our dreams, learning about the symbols. Our soul speaks to us in symbols and images. So this is why we do the dream work for the collective. And we'll be doing that on Monday of next week, a week from today at 4 o'clock. We'll be doing the dream work for the collective. So hopefully you can join us in that and you learn, to interpret the symbols, and that the soul in the dream world tells us only what we don't already know. So we have to come together to learn things that we don't already know. And this will guide our lives and the lives of our ways of encouraging these collective changes, these collective energies that are building right now and creating this shift that we're all capable of being a part of. It's like I was saying about being a single drop of water, or coming into gatherings like this and becoming a little stream or a little pond, or flowing all the way to the ocean as we come together like this. And as in the example we saw in our video, which is on our YouTube channel. Now you can go see it again, the way we passed the water from the springs to the ocean. And that's the Guided Ritual Transformation Dances YouTube channel. So this is the ways of our ancestors, and the example in my life is when they outlawed everything that we did, our music, our dances, our language, everything, and demanded that we assimilate. When they discovered that they couldn't move us all out of the sacred mountain, the sacred homeland, on the Trail of Tears, and with the genocide, they started trying to make us assimilate. And the one thing that they couldn't take away was our circles and our gatherings and our speaking in circle as women. Women came together in my family after dark, inside, with the curtains pulled and the men there to protect us. We would still sit in our circles, and when we sat in our circles, we spoke of the gifts that we are all bringing into this world and into our life at this time. We spoke of the gifts that we saw in the children and the ancestral patterns that we were able to see in the children, and guide those children into their gifts and support each other in sharing our gifts, much as we do here when we establish these relationships and come together
and go to deeper levels that help each other. You know, I can't come into these relationships without seeing people's gifts. And when I do the dream work in the Jungian way, the soul really wants to bring the gifts to the people. And once we have our anchors, it is wide open to do that, you know. Our anchors are our roots, our four archetypal patterns that we see our own nature, and we gather with likewise nature, and we opposite the other two so that we can ask them for help. And the way we honor each other's gifts in gatherings like this and in building relationship like this is by asking for them. This is so contrary to our dominant culture that's all about money or all about manipulation or all about power over paradigm. We are able to see each other's relationships and ask for them. Just in the way that we see Michael with these images that he shares in these gatherings, and we can count on him to do that. We know that is his gift, you know, just like Shonda's gift of bringing us all together, and the energy that she puts into that, and I see many gifts unfolding for her that when she's able to do the dream work will take her deeper and deeper into that and into sharing her gifts. And that's the work of the mystics. The mystics share the gifts, the warriors protect, you know. During the time of oppressing the feminine, they could have called on the warriors for protection if they had had their roots and known that they needed that type of protection. So see how that honors the gift of the mystics as they go deep into these sharings, and it also honors the gifts of the warriors. The warriors don't go into the depth of understanding and the intuitive connections that the mystics go into, but they go out into the world and they love to fight and win and protect. So we ask them for protection and we balance each other as opposites in that way. And this provides our roots. And our roots allow us to know who we really are. And when we know ourselves on those levels, we have a very strong ego vessel so that we no longer need the popular dominant culture ego identity that says, I'm this and I'm not that, and I do this and I don't do that, and this is my way and this is not my way. And see the pendulum swinging with the opposites. The energy is in reconciling those opposites. When we go to this quantum physics level and we work with the spirits, we reconcile the opposites of this world and the other world. Okay? This is what the shamanic journeying is all about. And this is what Carl Jung's work is based on. So when we talk about the dreams and we talk about the ancestral ways of the woodlands people, we are talking about the same thing, and we are using the word spirits interchangeably with quantum physics. So this is how we combine the energies and reconcile the opposites that release the energies to create something new. And that is what the world needs right now. Something new. We've talked a little bit about this. Now we have an opportunity to create a new myth for the collective right now. Because, just to give you a little background, a little foundation here, the fairy tales are once upon a time because they are for all people, all times. Okay? They are universal truths about humans. They originally, the myth specialists say that they could have started as these stories, like the story we just shared about the bear and our experience with the bear this weekend. Our direct experience could be actually the beginning of the bear myth. Okay, a new myth for the bear and for the water, that we are actually capable of sharing because we had the experience. And so myth is very specific to culture. Okay? The bear has a meaning in our culture. It has a little different meaning in the Russian culture. It has a little different meaning in Suzanne's culture in Switzerland. You know, Bern is the capital of Switzerland, and it is the bear goddess site for the water, sacred water there in Switzerland. So you can see the difference in the fairy tales and the myths. There's a symbolic identification on fairy tales also. For example, three are the same and the fourth is different. All the fairy tales about the kings, the failing king who's looking for a hero to begin the new kingdom, you know, the new way, the new time, the new creation that is needed at that time, because the kingdom is faltering. The kingdom is not happy, just like our collective culture right now. It needs something new. It needs some new life force, some new energy, some new reconciliation of the opposites. Okay, so excuse me, the fairy tale takes us on a journey. It takes us to save the princess, which is something new, the new creative feminine, the new potential. It takes us through some trials, you know. We often go to the water, we go to the animals, we get so much help from the animals, both in the fairy tales and in the energies of the archetypes. The stories of the archetypes have those things. You know, you look at Venus, asked Persephone to do tasks that seemed unmanageable, but the animals helped her. The ants helped her, the sheep helped her, you know, and the things were met with the help of everyone coming together, just like we're coming together now. I wish I could tell you why the myths are specific to culture. I don't really have a complete understanding of the depth of how the myth is in culture, but it was the culture that was close. Culture is our immediate environment. You know, it's not over all times and all places. It's what we need to subsist in our communities and in our immediate surroundings. You know, like the way we work with the bear is a little different from the way they work with the grizzly bear. The plains people work with the grizzly bears. That's different, you know. The way Russia works with the bear, you can see that. But it's different. It's different from the ways that we work with the bears. And there's, you know, Michael's photo of another bear. That's the grizzly bear. You can see the difference in the bears. And that's my closest experience of why the myth is different. But now we have the whole world as a culture. So we have to take those individual cultures and merge them, bring them together in a way that we can all understand. Okay, we are a part of that. We have to participate. To build relationship, you just show up. You know, primarily you just show up. Again and again, you come together and you get to know each other and you get to know what's going on in your environment and how it affects someone else and someone else in their environment, and the different opportunities that are available to create a new myth. We have to come together, show up, notice these things and talk about them. We have to integrate them. And that is the work of the songs as well. In my Jungian work, we reach a point of integration and we feel that deepening of our integration. At that time, we sing together, okay? When we sing together, we come into harmony and we bring our experiences into a deepening, an integration within our being. So this is another way that we actually have of reaching beyond appropriation. You know, you've heard me talk about this. If you hear one Native person say one thing and think that you can know something to share with someone else, it's very likely to end up being appropriation. Because just to give you an example, um, when I had my near death experiences, I was snatched out of the jaws of death by a Luampe ceremony. And that is one of the ceremonies that the White Buffalo Calf woman brought when she came to help the Lakota people. Now, I was told in that ceremony that if I was to survive, I needed to keep sharing in these ways. Okay? So I don't just share my experience of that one Luampe ceremony. I actually had to go into those teachings in a very deep way. I had to go through song classes and learn songs for the Lakota ceremony songs. And I don't know how many of you have done Sweat Lodge ceremonies, but I don't encourage doing Sweat Lodge ceremony without the songs, because they are the true medicine, they are the depth, they are the meaning, and they communicate with the spirits that reach back to these ancestral times. So that's what we do the work. That's what we need to do at this time. We need to do the work to actually deepen our experience of the original instructions that we all came in with in this wave of humans, to reach our ancestors and honor them and integrate what they share with us in these ways with the song medicine. Okay, so after I learned the songs, I had to learn to hold the Sweat Lodge ceremony here on this sacred mountain for over 13 years. We did ceremony once or twice a month. So there's 200 or 300 Sweat Lodge ceremonies that I went through and that I held with the land, with the spirit of this mountain. Okay, for the people who showed up, the way we become community and the way we support these deepening of the teachings and experiences is to show up. And as long as people show up, those experiences continue and they deepen. So we were able to hold the ceremonies until COVID Omicron hit. And at that point in time, I was the only one who hadn't had any of the illnesses, and my life is still very fragile. So I felt like there's not much that can survive 180 degrees for 2 hours. So we were fine in all of our ceremonies in the first 2 years of COVID. But by that point, you know, I worked with a lot of millennials, and they were just over it. They were just not being careful and not understanding what was going on, and it felt like it was too risky, and my face started to have these chemical burns. That's at the time they brought the laundry sheets, which are plastics, and those chemical residues, those neurotoxins, were burning my skin from being around people and going into the lodge. When the laundry pods came out, I reacted with anaphylactic shock. Okay? So I was able to share these experiences with a few people who were able to get away from those products and realize that they accumulate in the bodies of humans and animals, because we're putting them into the air, the earth, the water, when we use them every single day. Personal care products that are absolutely not necessary. Okay, I can get my soapbox out on that, and I'd love to invite Adam to share that soapbox with me at some point in time, because he's got the big picture. But I just want to encourage you that this is how we deepen our understanding. This is how we make change in the world, one experience at a time. So I want to ask you to really deepen your relationships by showing up, participating, integrating, and calling out those who don't have these understandings. You know, don't participate in Lakota ceremonies without the songs and sweat lodge ceremonies without the songs. And if you do, call it a sauna. You know, it's a sauna. It's not a ceremony. Don't participate in the weakening of the word ceremony by just lighting a candle. You know, please don't do that. The ceremonies that our dominant culture are familiar with are weddings and funerals. Okay? If you can't go to that depth in a ceremony, do the work until you can. There's a whole alchemical transformation process that occurs. We do our guided ritual transformation dances once a month, and they show up in people's dreams. When I do the dream work, the dances become a big part of the soul's guidance in the dreams that these people experience. That's integration. You know, we have music, we co-create the actual music that the songs are based on. It begins with the journey. I journey to my helpers, and they guide the drumming that I do, that I send to the UK. We create the music, and we create the guidance after that journey. And then we gather, and people show up, and they dance together, and you can see the transformation in their whole being. And then the transformation shows up in their dreams and takes them deeper and deeper into their life's path, into what they came here to do. We can all support each other in what we came here to do when we go to this deepening level and work with our soul in the dreams and work with each other in community like this. I'm so grateful for these opportunities to share these teachings and to bring these experiences to people who have Salagi roots and people who have other roots to bring, other experiences. You know, they're all welcome. They all come together and they integrate, just like the fairy tales and the myths. Okay, doing this is what will give us a new myth. And you can see the impact. Joseph Campbell actually brought in the hero's journey. And that made a big mess. You know, he didn't really have the deep foundation in Jung's work, and he wasn't strong enough to admit and team up with Jung. He saw the flack that he was going to get at that time, the opposition from Freud because of Jung and Freud's split, and he wasn't willing to go there. He wasn't able to hold that strength and confront the patriarchy, basically. So what we ended up with in the hero's journey was all these people, all these cultures worshiping adolescence. At the same time, we started really not supporting our actual adolescents, and this is my, you know, my time frame. People started turning to mind-altering drugs to medicate their pain, self-medicate their pain, or escape. Okay, so we got a lot of wounding in adolescence in the collective culture. This was the 60s. And this is when the drugs came in and the different cultures started coming together. But there was no deepening, there was no integration. The music is what led that culture. This is the time when Jimi Hendrix and Link Wray electrified the guitar. Native people stepped up with their gifts to share, but we didn't have the integration. We didn't have the tools to gather like we gather now. So I feel like we can take the music into a deepening. We can do this now. We can do this together. We can ride that music wave that started in the 60s and just became amazing in the 70s. But we have to heal this wounding, and that is doing our individual work. And also, the drug use affected the development of the brain. The brain is in development until they're saying now we're like 26 years old, but I think that recent information came from the damage of the cultural drug use that altered the mind. In Salagi traditional ways, we don't do our transition medicine until we are past 20 years old. And I'm not going to tell you about that because it is a true break with reality, and it is very dangerous. Many people accidentally commit suicide on our medicine because they have a true break with reality. They don't realize they're stepping out of a third floor window, or they don't realize they're walking into 4 lanes of traffic. They don't have that reality there and the balance of the reality, or they don't know to have people take care of them who can physically restrain them and care for them. So it's very tricky. And the medicines are not being done in a good way. I have a dear friend from Brazil who is steeped in the medicines that are so popular. They're a fad right now. And they're damaging the psyche. They're damaging the mind and the cultural collective that it could be helping. It should be helping. But they don't have these deep teachings and the elder perspective to help them. And so we have to clean that up. That's justice. We have to go into true justice and retribution and reconciliation of these opposites in order to get to these gifts and to really find that new myth and become the force that can heal that worship of adolescence and return the balance that nature teaches. Nature seeks balance, and she wants to help us bring things back into balance. And nature will continue, whether this wave of humans does at all. How many waves of humans have failed in the past, or disappeared, or integrated in genetic ways? Yes, thank goodness we are mixed and we are coming together in that way, but we could do so much more, so much quicker, and so much less painfully if we did it consciously and with a really deep community orientation that had really clear guidance. And that's
Indeed.
available. Thank goodness it's available to us on Zoom. So, I'm going to put my soapbox.
Kate has her hand up.
Yeah, let's take some questions. Kate, what would you like to add or share or ask?
Well, I think I want to first start by just thank you, Gail, for you share so much wisdom over so many, years now on such a variety of subjects. And I'm just really grateful you're in my life and that you exist. I've always got you in my prayer vibe for strength against the Wi-Fi. Gail's been known to me a while, and I kind of call her the human canary in the coal mine. And like I said, that whole lesson got so cemented when she asked me not to bring any poisons or toxins, please, because she was quite sensitive. And my little Western mind thought, oh, I'm bringing her a gift that I made. Won't that be nice? Not thinking it's made with these toxic chemicals. Anyway, my question lies, I have a couple of observations, and I love your song, the song that is gifted to you through the bears and the water and the lessons that went with it. Regretfully, I couldn't make the entire goddess gathering, so I missed you singing it live. But Ambicola means the water is falling. I just wanted you to give us the
yeah, thank you, Kate. And I want to say
this
is,
and then I was wondering Adva Nuwate.
Oscar.
Adva Nu, or do I say that right? And please define your
Thank you.
terminology. And then I just have one last comment for you. As you spoke about culture, I kind of thought how it's just this living embodiment that becomes our practice as we're around people. And so I have this, it's a dictionary, the first Funk and Wells from like 1887. And I lays it up for you, but she's so fragile. I don't know where to get her rebound. Anyway, so I said, I get to see what my book for a while. You said deep. The thing that really startled me was that the first working definition of culture had to do with working in the soil. And I'll just read you what it said here first. The working of the ground in order to raise crops, cultivation, tillage, attention and labor giving to the growth or propagation of plants or animals. So I just thought it was interesting that, as really started working the earth and growing our food together, realizing the reciprocity between the grower and nutrition that is, anyway, I just thought that was fascinating. And then, so those are my comments. And if you could define, and thank you once again, deep bow to you. My topic, philosophy. I know on the Coeur land, I try my best. And the other observation I will have while I have a mic is, because I know the people around here, they're so, and I don't want to say the people, well, in a way I do, I guess. The original people, the indigenous, those who work close to the land.
Oh, we lost her.
Yeah, you could tell her Wi-Fi was getting a little wild there.
Yeah, well, I'll answer her questions. Maybe she'll come
There
back
you
up.
go.
I apologize. I'll turn my
There we
video
go.
off. They're so open to sharing their knowledge, is how I was just going to finish it. And you are such a shining example of that. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Kate. These are great questions. The first thing I want to address is this is our song. This is not my song. This is our song. We all participated in that goddess gathering. We all honored the bears in the water. We became community. Suzanne showed up here, and this is our song from the bears. And Eric is here with her ancestry. Keith is here with his Salagi ancestry. So I feel like that's what strengthened it coming. This is my first song in primarily Salagi language. I've got some phrases in the other songs that came in the dream world, but this is the first song that is predominantly Salagi language, and so I do want to clarify those words. It's Amakalola. Amakalola is the name for the waterfall. Falling water was also my mother's name. So I honor the mothers, honor the falling water, honor the water. With the Amakalola, we call to her first, and call and answer, we call. And then the people answer and bring all their ancestry. So there's the call and the answer. We combine and integrate when we call and answer in the songs like that. Okay? So we start with honoring the water, Amakalola, falling water, and then Osta Nuati. Osta is like the most common Salagi phrase. Some people say it means good, but that's duality and good and bad and judgment and all that stuff that's not our culture. So I translate it as it is. Awareness of things as they are. So Osta, I say as it is, but it's very positive, And Nuwati is the medicine. It's the name for the medicine people, Nuwati. And my father was Medicine Clan. My grandmother that raised me was Medicine Clan, going back to the original villages on this oldest mountain on Turtle Island. And the difference is we stayed on the land with the spirits of the land and the spirit of the mountain and the spirit of the water here. We stayed close. And that's what feeds me, the land and the grandmothers from the other side, you know. So Ostanuwati is as it is with the medicine, and the bear translated it, only best medicine for you, water. It's like, I guess you guys would say, a blessing. It's like acknowledging that we are calling to the falling water, and we're bringing only the best medicine for the falling water. And so those are the two words that Kate asked about, and I'll try to keep up with all those questions. She might have to remind me a little bit.
Erica has her hand up.
Yeah, did I answer all your questions, Kate? I think I only got the first part. I think in terms of coming into...
Yeah, that was beautiful. I was just wondering the definitions, and thank you for taking a little more into the history, and you're showing me it. I mean, it's the time spent and the depth of relationship and length of time that is so vital in really the understanding of these ways. So thank you. Yeah, the rest were just comments, and I know I'll be yakking at you more.
Good, that's great. I love it. Okay, Erica, please share with us. Unmute. Can't hear
Okay, unmuted.
you. Good.
Gail, where are you located?
In Asheville, North Carolina, on the tallest mountain east of the Mississippi, our sacred mountain, Otagoul. This is the
I
Oxus
thought that's where you were, but I just wanted clarity on that.
Mhm.
I was very fortunate to have been there a number of times,
Good.
including our journey when we left North Carolina for Washington, also going past it again. And having been able to be in meditation at that time when we were in that location, to really experience the energy of the mountain
Yes.
and the mountains
Mhm.
and falling water in the song takes me back many years to when I was studying architecture. And I was always drawn to Frank Lloyd Wright's house, Falling Water,
Mhm.
that blended so beautifully with the environment and nature, no diverting of anything. It was built within the energy where it exists still today. And perhaps because I'm a water sign, having been born in July and being Cancer, as far as astrology goes, and I've always been drawn to water and to waterfalls and falling water. So I found today to be extremely enlightening, and I'm grateful that I was able to make the time to be present and to be here. Thank you all for sharing so much. And I would like to stay a little longer. I'd like to stay through the entire gathering, but there are many pressing issues. So I'm going to just leave it with spirit and my intuition to right now remain here and to be present with you all.
Thank you, Erica. Those are beautiful observations. Yeah, the falling water is so much a part of nature. Black Elk talks about the people returning to earth as rain. And, you know, one part of Kate's question that I didn't answer was the culture. And that's why the Eastern Woodlands people are called moon goddesses, because we did everything by the moon. We made that transition to what's called civilization when we stopped following the food. And that was already, you know, happening in our culture. And it's still experimental, you know? We're still trying to get civilized and stay in one place and balance with the earth and grow our own food. In my family, you know, I knew people, the grocery stores only came about like 10 years before I was born. So I knew plenty of people in my family who just didn't go to the grocery store. They didn't need a grocery store. They grew their food, they canned it, they shared with the neighbors. You know, they had community where different people did different things. And there was no grocery store concept with my grandmothers who went back to these ancient villages of the ancient ones. And I would love to see us return to that.
Well, I was very fortunate in that I was raised in that type of an environment where we raised almost everything we needed. A trip to the grocery store in those days, because I was born in 1950, and being in a rural environment, we learned to be self-sufficient. And grocery stores were only utilized perhaps for products that we couldn't raise ourselves. And we also learned how to live without those products when we needed to.
Yeah, yeah. And Erica, look at it. There was white flour and white sugar, and that's pure poison. That's what I call the genocide diet. The grocery stores brought the genocide food.
Yes.
Sad. Hey, anybody else have anything to share? I think we're close to 5 o'clock. Yeah, we got 5 minutes if we have a pressing question. Otherwise, we can.
Gail, I apologize. My video, it seems like I'm getting bounced off. I turn it on. But I wanted you to elaborate. You frequently say, we're going to call in the ancestors who have done their work. And I feel the doubt in my heart. And you always talk to me about doing my work. And I guess, I always think that we're doing the best we can in any given moment. And so could you elaborate on what you think doing your work is? And can you alleviate my doubt or my questioning whether my ancestors have done their work, and how can I determine that? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. Okay, you're really deepening today. So, our ancestors know us. We don't necessarily know them. I've had experiences of being introduced to an ancestor that just I could not have imagined until the moment they showed up. And then we recognize, just like we recognize each other, the way to determine if someone has Salagi ancestors is not by blood quantum. It's by a grandmother who is recognized in community, recognizing them in community. That's our traditional ways, and that's also the traditional ways of the Plains people. But we don't try to think that we know all of our ancestors. We trust that when we are very specific and very careful to designate that we are asking and calling in only those ancestors who've done their work. Now keep in mind our ancestors include the stones, the water, the first 4 worlds that Chief Phil talks about. Those are the teachings from the stones, then the water, then the plants, then the animals. These are all ancestors, and these are all archetypal energies that show up in the dream world. These are the basis for the messages from the soul. And that is also one way that our ancestors work with us. So a big part of our problem on this middle realm today is that we don't have that discernment, and we are working with a lot of disembodied spirits from the astral realm. That is the dark realm around the earth that we must pass through to get to the river of souls, the Milky Way, and return to the other side. And this is why we help. When someone's crossing over, we help them with their crossing to get through that ancestral plane to the river of the Milky Way so that they can feed both wolves, reconcile duality, and cross over to the other side. This is why the Lakota tradition opens ceremony with the fire and the song that lifts the veil between the worlds, calling in the spirits who've done work specifically with the ceremony that they're doing. And at the end of that ceremony, they give them safe passage. They call it sending home, and close that opening, close that portal between the worlds. They are very, very careful. And the Lakota are known as the keepers of the ceremonies because they moved around and they stood strong enough to keep their ceremonies. Now, they made changes. You know, they moved from the matrilineal direction of the circle to the patrilineal, the clockwise direction, in order to keep their ceremonies alive and keep from getting killed. And they were still getting killed doing their ceremonies, but they made every effort. And there's some talk of going back to the matrilineal direction of the circle in their ceremonies, and it's all about the symbols. Symbols go beyond words, okay? So when you are very careful and using that discernment of only working with your spirits who've done their work, and the way you determine is when you feel that strong energy, you ask if it needs anything from you. And the disembodied spirits need everything from us. They need a body in order to carry out what they didn't do as their work when they were on this middle realm. And so if they need something from you, then you tell them that they cannot work directly with you. They are not welcome. And you ask the ancestors who have done their work to help those of us who are doing the work. Okay, you don't really have to make that judgment. If you have any doubt at all, you just hand them off to the ancestors. And this is what we do when we help, as Psychopomp, when we help people cross over to the other side. We hand them off to our ancestors. We recognize our ancestors and we hand them off. And I did this for years the hard way, and didn't realize these levels of teachings and discernment. And I would do it, with our will, which is the hard way, and with the plant medicine, but also with our awareness. And that's, how we transition from ego mind, the little mind, to the deeper awareness. The ego is awareness, which is really what keeps us alive in all these natural disasters and everything. That's what the natural disasters are. They're nature teaching us to develop our awareness. I'd much rather do it with a dream. I hope that you would too. Excuse me, that's why I focus on doing the work. And the dream work is a great way to do that. And the Lakota Sending Home song is a much easier way to help. And when we help in these ways, it enables our ancestors to go to the higher realms and become teachers in their transition. We support them, they support us. It's always balance. It's always natural with nature. So, there's a lot, I could go on and on about just those questions, Kate. There's a lot of deep stuff to recognize in these ways, and I'm happy for your questions. And unless someone else has a question, we'll close for today with a gratitude song that came from the water on this mountain. Then we'll have just a few minutes if anybody wants to talk about anything else. Is there anything else? Burning question for anybody?
Thank you, Gail. That was just lovely. I'm frustrated that I can't get my picture up, but I can still hear everything. It was just lovely. Such a lovely energy you have that you give to us all. Thank you.
Okay, let's sing our gratitude. Sing with me. Unmute and sing with me if you want to. Unkachalai, unchimalai, hitak yeo, unchimata, nirtoni, ilamaya, ancestors, grandmother. Feel the integration, feel the harmony, the coming together, the integration from the song. Thank you all. So wonderful to be here with you and to share in these ways. And I'm so grateful to Shonda and Keith for taking care of all the details here and all these opportunities. Thank you all. Okay.
Thank you, Gail. That was beautiful.
Yeah, thank you, Keith.
Thank you. Blessings to you and everyone.
To everyone.
Blessings, guys.
You want to
Bye-bye.
stop the recording, Keith, and give just a minute? If
I'm gonna go.
Yes.
he wants to say anything else, not